Most of the questions that I get are about brightness. People want to know, how can I get a brighter picture, bro? I like dynamic tone mapping. Okay, well, if you like it, use it. But I believe that you might like SDR more than HDR. HDR requires a completely dark room. So I believe that most people coming from an LCD screen, they are used to SDR pushing a lot more full screen brightness than what you would get on HDR with these OLEDs. So they, on top of that, they are experiencing dimming on top of that on the OLED. So that sucks. And people don't like that. So I do not promote accessing the service menu and making changes there because it is dangerous. You can mess up your TV. But if you are unhappy with the brightness of your OLED, you have to know, you should know, that there's an option to turn off that dimming on the TV. And that's a deal breaker for me. So if I'm going to get a TV, I have to know for sure, if it's an OLED TV, I need to know that I can turn off the dimming. So when the TV detects a logo or a static content on the screen, it's going to dim. I have to know that I can turn that off. I do not want dimming at all. Okay? So it is risky. It increases the risk of burning, and I am okay with that. So you do it at your own risk. The other thing, and I'm going to show you how to do that. The other thing I want to talk about is SDR, basically. You can get a brighter picture on SDR, okay? Simply because you just you release all the brightness of the TV on SDR, and you can get like 400 nits full screen brightness. That is uncomfortable to me. That's eye-searing, and I do not like it at all, okay? I tried that only for black frame insertion, to use OLED Motion Pro High. So what I'm talking about is on this LG C1, again on the service menu, there is an option to get up to 400 nits full screen brightness on SDR. It doesn't work for HDR. Actually, for HDR, it lowers the brightness. But for SDR, we can get an eye-searing 400 nits full screen brightness. There's no OLED on the market. The G3 is not gonna have 400 nits full screen brightness. It's gonna have like 200, 220, 230 nits full screen brightness. So this is almost double what the G3 is going to have. So if all you're looking for is to get more full screen brightness, you like dynamic tone mapping, you are looking for that, you know, in your face, eye-searing brightness, you can get it. And do it at your own risk. But you should know that this option exists. That you don't need to buy, you know, the G3 to get that. Because the G3 is going to have an awesome HDR, but it's not going to be. So the HDR idea that you might have is different from what it is. With a calibrated picture, unless the picture is calling for more full screen brightness, side by side the G3 and the C1 should look very similar, with the only difference being the highlights. Okay, so HDR brightness is not what you think it is. Then it is not just brighter picture, you know, it's the highlights. That's where you push the brightness. So for example, we are looking at a forest, the trees, everything, the mid-tones of the game or the content, they are not supposed to be brighter. They are not supposed to be 400 nits, okay? It might be 50, 100 nits or less. So the G3 shouldn't, if you have calibrated picture, if you have accurate settings, if you're using HDIG basically, you shouldn't see, you know, 200 to 300 nits mid-tones if the content is not calling for that. The difference is going to be when the content is actually calling for that. So for example, when I play Warzone 2 and it's a sunny day on the desert, you look, everything is bright as possible. Then you look at the sun, and the sun is actually like 500-600 nits. It is not up to 800 nits, which this LG C1 can do. And the reason is the mid-tones are actually pushing a lot of brightness, a lot of full screen brightness. So the G3 is gonna have a much more impactful HDR in that case, and the mid-tones might be actually a lot brighter in that case. But it's not gonna happen on every single case. But I believe that what you're looking for is basically SDR. You don't like HDR, you just want like the mid-tones as bright as possible. You do not want to be on a dark room for some reason. Maybe the place where you have the TV does not get dark. You don't have blackout curtains, and that's okay. You want to use the TV in that way, and you can do it at your own risk. I don't watch sports continuously. I only watch the UFC, so I don't have like static logos on the screen. Never. I just play games. The games do have some HUD elements. I try to hide them just because I don't like them, not because I'm afraid of burning or anything like that. But I am always changing from one game to the other. I do not watch any channels, any news channels or anything. So I would not recommend you to do this, to disable all the protection mechanisms, which I do, and to release all the brightness of the TV to watch football. To have always the same, a scoreboard here, the same HUD elements, the same channel logo. Don't do that because you're gonna get burning. Absolutely. But if you want to try it, if you don't care, if you are gonna do this at your own risk, you should know that the option exists. You should know that what you're looking for might be SDR brightness, and SDR can get brighter than HDR for the midtones. Okay. So what I do is first disable all the dimming possible on the TV. So the only dimming remaining is the dimming that you get with a higher percentage of the screen pushing brightness. Basically, let's say you have a 10% window on the screen that is as bright as possible. Okay, the bigger that percentage gets, the dimmer the TV will be, just because of power limitations. Okay, so that dimming is undefeatable. It's just a power restriction. But the dimmings that I am disabling is basically logo detection dimming and a static content dimming. So for example, since I started this video, you don't see any changes in brightness. You can go back to the beginning of the video. There's 0 changes in brightness for this. It's the same. So that's what I disable. And it's basically using this color control app on the PC. You can use it on a PC. If you have a console, these changes are gonna be saved. So you can use this color control app. You come here to options. You click here and show advanced actions under the expert button, and you get a warning. Hey, be careful. You're gonna have access to the service menu, and you can damage your TV. So it's gonna give you the warning. It's gonna tell you that the creators of this app are not responsible if you damage your TV. And then you come here to expert and you click in start. And then here you come down to OLED. You can also see here the hours that your TV have. I am hiding this part of the screen because it has some personal information. My TV has 1,678 hours. Okay, and I started using this TV like 6 months ago when I opened the channel. So I opened the channel, and like a month after I got the TV. So this has only like 6 months, and I have almost 1,700 hours. So we come here to OLED, and this is the thing: TPC off, GSR off. Those two options by default are on. So what I believe is happening is people are coming from an LCD used to that full screen brightness. Then you use HDR, it is dimmer, and on top of that, the TV is dimming even more because you're playing a game or watching something that has a logo, and the dimming is significant. I can clearly see it. It is not like something you need to see side by side. It's obvious. It is huge difference. And this is something you can try, turn it off. If you cannot tell the difference, turn it back on again. But you will see the difference. There's no way you don't see the difference. It's so obvious. But if you feel like it's too risky, you don't want to do it, you don't want to risk a burning or something like that, turn it back on again. It's something you can try, but this can void your warranty because there is a log. So every time you access the service menu, that is registered, and if you need to do a claim with a warranty, the engineers, the technicians, they can check and they will see that you access the service menu and they will see everything you did there. Okay, so do this at your own risk. But that's what I do. GSR and TPC off. After you do this, you might just forget about getting a new TV, because maybe you're always thinking, man, I want a brighter TV, I want to get that G3, and maybe it's because you were suffering with dimming. So after the dimming is gone, you are happy with your TV. That's why I'm showing you this. So now, do you want eye-searing brightness, like 400 nits full screen? You come here and turn module HDR on, and you have to be on SDR, okay? If you do this on HDR, you get less brightness. This only works on SDR. So you turn this on and it's going to be very bright. I do not like it. I do not use it. I do not recommend it. And this is risky. Okay? This is risky, and I wouldn't do it myself. Okay? So the only way I would use this option, this module HDR on option, is for black frame insertion. Because you do have that better full screen brightness, and that works very well for black frame insertion. But the problem is that then I would need to do a 22-point calibration to get the near black brighter, because the near black becomes too dim for black frame insertion. So I would need to calibrate the TV to get more brightness, and I might do that. But I'm waiting to have some instruments and learn how to calibrate before I do that, before I mess around with that. But I might do it because I don't use SDR anyway. I never use SDR for anything. So I am not concerned about messing the factory calibrations, because, I mean, you can always reset. I'm not gonna do the calibration using here this easy adjust. I would just do it on the regular menu. So we click easy adjust and you can do the calibration there, but I wouldn't do it there. I would just do it on the regular menu. So yeah, the problem is that you have a lot of full screen brightness, which is good for black frame insertion, but then the near black is too dark, and I get a much better result using the SDR HDR trick that I shared before. So I get such a great result using that I am happy with that. But I know I can get a much better result using this. I just need to calibrate it. I just need to calibrate the TV for that, and I do not know how to calibrate. I do not have instruments, and right now I don't have time for that. But I will do it eventually. I will do it in the future, because I'm sure I can get a much better result. So that's it. Let me know if you still have any questions. And again, this is not something I want to encourage people to do, but I get this question again and again. How can I unlock the brightness of the TV? How can I get my C1 into a G1? All of that. And how can I get more brightness? People say more peak brightness. You do not get more peak brightness. Just out of the box, you get as much peak brightness as possible on the TV. There's nothing you can do on the service menu to get more peak brightness. But what you can do is you can prevent that dimming, and you can get more full screen brightness. That's what you can do. You do not get more peak brightness. You get 800 nits and that's it. There is also this trick to make the TV think that it is a G1, and that might give you a little bit more peak brightness, but that's not worth it, because yeah, you're not gonna tell that difference. There's no way you're gonna see 10-20% more peak brightness. You're not going to notice that, and you might have issues with other things like the sound and stuff. It's basically changing the software of the TV, thinking that it is a G1. I would not do that. That is not I would not do that. It's not worth it, the risk. It's not worth it, in my opinion. So that's how you can get more brightness. That's what I use. That's the way I use my TV. TPC and GSR off, good HDR settings, never use dynamic tone mapping, and a completely dark room. That's the key. You have to get used to play on a completely dark room, and you will learn to appreciate the way the TV looks, the way it looks. And another thing is the colors. Some people like overly saturated colors, and also happens that when you go to the store, all the TVs are in vivid mode. Okay, so that's what they are selling you. So when you go back home and you watch a video of HD TV test, how to get accurate settings, you don't like it. That's okay. If you like overly saturated colors, go for it. What happened to me at the beginning is I was liking native color gamut because I was used to my plasma TV, which my plasma TV was going beyond Rec 709, so I was getting more saturated colors. So at the beginning I was loving to force here native color gamut on SDR. I was using this color control app to use the peak brightness on high on SDR to get more brightness, and I was using this color gamut native, okay, native color gamut, and I was liking that. There's nothing wrong with it. It looks a little bit more saturated, and I was actually lowering the saturation from 55 to 50 with native color gamut. So if you like that and you want to crank that up to 55 or 60, enjoy it. It's not accurate, it's overly saturated, but who cares? It's your TV. If that's what you like, you want to force module HDR, get 400 nits full screen brightness, use native color gamut on 60, and you don't even like warm 50, which is the best white balance, warm 50. You want to use warm 30. That's up to you, or 0. You like it on cool and destroy your eyes. That's it. Use it. Enjoy your TV. That's the way. That's it. You pay for it. So I just want to make you aware of the options we have, and it's up to you. Let me know if you have any questions.